Well, we
Yeah,
appreciate Grandmaster Oliver, appreciate you, Master Moody, appreciate you guys on here. And figured today we're going to talk a little bit about websites. We had a lot of people requesting some information regarding websites, and what are some of the new things going on with websites, and as far as design and everything else. We'll kind of talk a little bit about that today and see what we can do to help people out there as far as in specifically with the martial arts industry. We have quite a few of them are really interested in learning more about what they can do. And as we all know, we see more and more going to the do-it-yourself type of websites, which are kind of really, I don't want to say it's killing a lot of businesses, but you guys know that it's definitely negatively affecting everybody. So,
you mean things like Wix and stuff like that?
Yeah, Wix, GoDaddy, and I know they're all trying to improve it, but originally those sites were really created for like the people that are at stay-at-home type of people that are just working and trying their best to, some of them are, our dog, our Shar-Pei likes these little knitted, animals he chews up in 3 days, right? 4 days. But that's the kind of websites those sites were created for, not an actual business that's trying to, really yield a high level of return on investment, and grow, enhancing your business on a day-to-day basis. So, and we see it a lot. We see it a lot in the chiropractor world. We see these. And we want to talk a little bit about today. And Grandmaster Oliver, Master Moody, you guys can add and input. Say Stephen Oliver and Greg Moody, because this isn't just for martial arts. It's everybody out there. It's really interesting because years ago, I remember about 10 years ago, going back even farther than that, but 10 years ago, we saw a lot of these CRMs popping up everywhere. Everybody had this customer relationship CRM, and then you had this front portal, if you will, that they called a website. I feel like right now, in the last 30 days, I've seen 4 or 5 of these companies pop up again. And, it really is detrimental for a business owner to understand really what that's doing to how that's impacting, how that's impacting their business, and it's usually negative. Grandmaster Stephen Oliver, what are you seeing out there, for that, as far as that front portal, the bounce rates go so high because everything's private. So everybody thinks it looks really good. It might look like a good design, but Google's not telling us that, and the other search engines aren't telling us that.
Yeah. I think it goes one step backwards from there, Tracy, is most people who are putting up a website for their business don't really understand what their objective is, right? And, if you separate it out into my objective is to drive traffic, and my other objective is to convert that traffic, and then look at each of those pieces separately, I think you start to get there, right? But Greg, as you know, so many of the people we get is they have a pretty website and it's got a bunch of stuff there, and they think that's what they're trying to accomplish, and from my standpoint, it accomplishes neither, right? You and I have talked about different funnels and one thing or another, but if you don't have traffic, nothing else matters. And then if you have traffic and you don't end up with a contact, a new lead, and then a lead that converts to an appointment, then an appointment that converts to whatever your attempted sale is, right? Either an online sale or in a martial arts school or chiropractor, one thing or another, new patient or client. Well, why did you bother with the whole thing at all, right? So I think a lot of it comes back to that. They just don't even know, okay, let's go with objective number 1. How do I drive traffic? And what piece does a website have to do with that? What piece does buying clicks have to do with that? What piece does buying advertising and other platforms have to do with that? And then the second is, how do I convert that? And in your case, what you do is a really good job of mixing those two. So you create a site that's going to attract Google, cognizant of the fact that it needs to convert that traffic into new prospects.
Well, and I think that's one big part of what happens. And I think what I even notice is a lot of sophisticated business owners are ignoring their website and spending a lot of money on traffic generation, especially in the day of Facebook and even sometimes with Google AdWords. They're spending. We just talked to somebody who was a pretty sophisticated business owner with 26 units. Tracy, I'm talking about the guy that in the Pennsylvania area. and 26 units, and had spent a ton of money, but their website was horrible. And they're spending so much more money than they need to spend because it doesn't convert well, and it doesn't have enough content on it. It doesn't have enough. It has terrible search engine optimization, no linking out to other websites and other content in their area. And they're kind of going down a path where if they don't keep throwing money at it, that they're gonna just implode. And as soon as Facebook changes their algorithm, or as soon as something happens in that traffic generation, all their leads are gonna dry up. And it reminds me of, I was thinking about this other day, I didn't share it with either of you guys, but it reminds me of somebody who has a business, a brick and mortar business, and they had it in an alley somewhere. And if you had it in an alley somewhere, you could be pretty successful. You could spend a lot of money marketing it to try to get people to walk in your door, and you could spend a lot of money getting people out on the street, telling people where to go, and you could spend a lot of money doing TV advertising and getting people to come in, and walk in. But if you instead had a decent location on a decent busy street and did enough marketing in the community so people knew where you were at, and did enough outreach, that's a healthy way to build the business. So that when you do start spending money on TV advertising or whatever, in the olden days, not now what we're talking about, then it would be worth it. It would be valuable. But this, not having a website, is kind of like putting your business in an alley somewhere, because now you have to spend a ton of money to try to make it work. I don't know if that metaphor, it seemed like it worked for me.
It's good. Yeah, it worked. Yeah. It's interesting, because everything we're talking about, so we're all on the same page, and we've all been in this business for so many years. And really what it comes down to is, the change that's occurring is at a rate that we cannot keep up with. The average person cannot keep up with the change that's happening on the internet right now. And there's so many you listeners out here right now listening in on this call. What you have to understand is, Facebook's battling Google, Google's battling Facebook, Facebook's battling people are battling Facebook. And on a daily basis, they're changing their algorithms.
Let's not forget that Apple's trying to kill Facebook.
Yeah, Apple, exactly. And when and Stephen, that is such a perfect thing, because one of the topics we want to talk about is, it used to be that we had to talk about responsive themes, and responsive websites and how they worked on mobile devices, because we know mobile devices, that's where it's at right now. I mean, for the most of the clientele that we have, what we see across the country is most of them are on mobile devices. They're not on their desktops when they're searching your website. But what we see now is that the do-it-yourself sites are horrible. What's happening is, and I say horrible because it's amazing. You go to your mobile device on their site and the picture's this big. So the scalability functions of what you're loading up to your website is a negative impact with the search engines, and it negatively affects your scoring and ranking. So for those of you that are on the call right now, that are on this call and not going to be listening to it later on, right now, if you're doing blogs, you want to make sure you follow the standard procedures for doing blogs, posting, whether you're posting your podcast, your video, your gallery, whatever that's occurring. And those are the main three things. It's going to be images, coupons, whatever you want to call them, digital pieces. It's your gallery, if you will. It's an actual image that pulls up in the search engines, with the search engines. And then there's the video, and some of your videos are podcasts, but they're still video on your website. And there's some confusion factor on that. If you're a known name or a known brand, and if you have a lot of followers, like if you have 1 million followers, there's nothing wrong with being, saying, hey, look, I'm going to have my podcast platform separate from my website. But for most of us out there, we don't, we're not Joe Rogan, and who knows if he's going to be Spotify or Rumble next week, right? You don't know where he's going, right? But for the most part, we don't have that millions of followers, so we need to make sure that our video is kept on board our website, and then it pushes out to these podcast platforms, and there's all this linking that occurs and everything else. But when we talk about all this right now, one takeaway I think everybody has to understand: there's a blog, which is think of copy, not really so much content, but written material, and then think of the images, and then think of the video. If you tag those, I cannot tell you, we see a 45% increase on a monthly basis for anybody that's personally blogging. So for those of you that are out there right now, whether you're doing video, and some of you, you're not going to, you're wearing a lot of hats in your business, and we've all been there. You're wearing a hat and you're trying all these different hats, and you're trying to do the marketing, you're trying to do this. And if you can do anything, schedule a time that you can actually do a posting for a blog consistently. Don't do it Monday of this week, and then 3 weeks from now, you're doing it on a Wednesday. Be consistent. If you're going to do it twice a month, once a month, or once a week, whatever you can afford time-wise to do it, get the blog posted, get the podcast posted, and start uploading some images. And when I say images in your gallery, what people are failing to understand is an image can simply be, that can be a coupon. In the world of coupons, are your type of customers coupon shoppers? Not every business is a coupon shopper, but we still know that Amazon loves doing discounts, and people like shopping on Amazon. Groupon, people say, yes, it's a lot lower than it was before, but still a sustainable business, and there's still a lot of Groupon shoppers. So coupons still work, and it's the way you deliver the coupon. Call to action offer, that type of stuff. There's, I know Stephen and Greg, both you guys cover that stuff a lot in when you're talking to clientele too. But if you guys have anything to add to that right now, the main takeaway right now is we just don't see people having a consistent pattern in their company. They say they're going to take this project on, if you will. But imagine if they did it from January of 2022 to January of 2023, their dynamic footprint online is going to be outdo your competition like you won't believe, which means your ranking status is going to be higher in Google. That means the organic part of it, you're going to be up in the 1 and 2 and 3 position instead of down below number 9 or 10.
Yeah. Well, and Tracy, at Rev Marketing, we help them with making sure that they're on the cutting edge of which coupons are available, which content's available, and when to use different pieces of parts of the internet. Because I think for a lot of business owners, it's really, really confusing that there's too many pieces out there. So what we'll help them with is what they should be using and what they should be ignoring and not spending time and money on. That I think I think any business owner on the call or listening later can appreciate that. That's one of the biggest headaches that you've got, is what to spend time on and what's to spend money on, and what to not spend time on, what to not spend money on, and what to focus on. And that's what I think we do good service with our clients at Rev Marketing. And then for Stephen at the Wealth Mastery groups, also spend a lot of time with what they're doing in their directly in their business.
Yeah, it's Tracy. I think one of the points of overwhelm is, if I'm a school owner or a chiropractor or whatever it is, winery owner, is I hear I should be marketing with video, and I should be doing a podcast, and I should be having images on my site, and I should be blogging. And the way I look at it, and 20 years ago when I was working with all of the early internet marketers, they all focus then and now on, let's be smart about how we develop content. I'll give you an example. Is Greg and I, we had a member meeting, so we booked a conference room for a day and a half. We have a gentleman come in and do video. Now we have 15 segments for the YouTube channel. We have 15 podcasts for the podcast. We had it machine transcribed and then human transcription, and then I handed it off to a writer. So now we have 15 chapters in a book. We have, and actually each of the chapters are 3 or 4 blog posts if you want, because each of the chapters are coming out to be, I don't know, what are they, Greg? They're like 3,000 or 4,000 words.
Right.
So they can be a long blog. They can be 3 or 4 short blogs. And then we can post the video, we can post the audio, we can post the transcript, and we can post the rewritten blog, because these aren't duplicate, right? And all of a sudden, from one piece of effort, and what we're doing a lot, I know you're doing a lot, is, I am really good at sit down and just write, but I find myself not doing it. But if I just block an hour once a week to, have a meeting like this on Zoom with somebody else and just have a conversation, the transcript and then the writer on Fiverr or whatever can clean it up, and all of a sudden I got a ton of content, right?
Exactly.
On the martial arts side, I don't know how many tens of thousands of pages of stuff we have out there. But, with all the new stuff we're developing, I'm always thinking about, I'm creating a report, a chapter in a book, a newsletter, a blog, a video, and an audio all at the same time, and then using it for different purposes.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so important. You're basically taking, and you're ahead of 99.9% of everybody out there. Because they're just not doing it. And it's interesting because for any listeners right now, this is a serious takeaway. I mentioned earlier about a takeaway, but this is something you need to write down. And if you don't understand how to get this organized, reach out to us and see what we can do to help you out. We have a free roadmap and a free blueprint that we provide. Stephen also has some free stuff that he gives out to you too. It's interesting because I know you're into the financial aspect of it too. But it doesn't really matter what we see the similarity. It doesn't matter if it's a chiropractor, a martial artist, a financial. It doesn't matter the educational level. It doesn't matter if they've have 12 years of college. It doesn't matter if they've never been to college. If they have all these multiple degrees. What we see is still the same pattern. The same pattern is they just don't know. Yeah. And if they don't know what they don't know, they can't actually grow online. And no matter what we do, we can take any other, there's multi-channels, even online, but if we take any single channel like TV or radio, anything we want to take, we're never going to be able to produce what we can produce on the internet. In most markets, you're not going to be able to, in most industries, you're not going to be able to produce what you can having something, established online. And we see, Stephen, one of the things, Greg's familiar with this, we see more and more people, we always call it the steroid of marketing. It's a boost in our arm, right? It's a boost in our arm saying, hey, look, let's do this pay-per-click. And they get hung up on it for a year. But then after a year, when they decide they don't want to spend that money anymore, there's nothing. They're not on page one, which is what you were talking about earlier, Stephen. You've got to be seen. If you don't get seen, you can't. No traffic is not going to help you at all, right? So you have to be seen. So more and more right now, all the search engines want to see natural, organic manners of things being written. So what Stephen was kind of mentioning earlier, everybody, is, and he is a prolific, you write really well, right? I mean, everybody here knows you do. So you write really well, but the problem even with some of the writing right now is it's not the best type that is meant for the readers on websites. So what we're doing right here is a natural process. It's what the search engines want to see. So when this is transcribed by some artificial intelligence or a real individual, it turns out to be a much higher yielding return on your work that you're doing.
Well, when you're talking about writing, though, Tracy, I mean, it might be worth it to talk about some of the clients that we have are publishing books, and Stephen's published a bunch of books and recommending books for the clients in lots of multiple ways. One of them helps them online, and a lot of it helps them offline too. And that might be a good topic to touch on as well.
Yeah, well, that whole influencer thing. Go ahead, Stephen. The whole influencer thing with the author. I mean, it's what. It's Stephen's trademark. It's Greg, your trademark. It's mine. We use it because we are influencers in the industry. We've been around long enough to be so. And basically, the author makes a huge difference. So if anybody's on here right now, if you've never thought of becoming an author, I will tell you right now, it will change your world. And Greg, you always have that. What's the thing you always talk about with the PhD? The percentage of the PhD versus an author.
Yeah, well, what you're talking about is about 1 in 1,000. So 0.1% of people have a PhD, but 0.02% of people have written a book. Yeah. And so believe me, as somebody with a PhD, it's a lot easier to write a book. It's not that hard to get a book written and out. A
lot easier to write a book than a PhD.
Yeah, to get a PhD. And that's what if you have to pick one or the other, definitely write a book because it's going to be more valuable for your business. It gives you a authority position, but online, then you can build out different pieces. Like some of the clients that we have at Rev Marketing have author pages. We just talked to somebody today that's going to do one that builds something, some content. You can look at TracyLeeThomas.life or TracyLeeThomas.com and see Tracy's author page, which is great, or drgregmoody.com. You can see
those are both great.
Yeah. That allow you to market yourself in conjunction with your business in a way that's fantastic. Actually, we need to do one for Stephen. Tracy.
Build
put that on the list.
We can make that happen for you.
Yeah. We need to add that on because that's a way to connect your business to you as an individual, as an influencer, in a way that you can't do in a lot of other ways.
Well, you know, when you
Well,
bring that point up right now, go ahead, Stephen, go ahead.
I was going to pick up on that in two different ways. One, something I stole from Jay Abraham years ago, who's marketing guru, worked with Tony and everybody else, is, he always talks about the Parthenon, having a bunch of different feeders. And one of the things I think gets missed, and it was coming from your example of pay-per-click, is you should never be doing just one thing, right? You should always have all kinds of offline and online things happening. Because if nothing else, I mean, Meta dropped 25% in one day, aka Facebook. 5 years ago, I hated spending money with Facebook. Today, I love it. I may hate it again within a few months. I don't know, but it shouldn't matter, because you've got so many different ways of feeding new clients in, that if one of them disappears, or if half of them don't work in any given month, you're still in good shape, right? The other side of it I was thinking about on the author deal is that, we just are launching into a new niche. And in one that we're in, I've been around forever, and, unless they're new, everybody's kind of heard of me, I assume. But in the other, I know nobody knows who the hell I am. And so the first thing they're going to do is they're going to go Google me, right? And if I'm nowhere, then I'm nothing. And if I'm everywhere, I must be somebody, right? So if they go Google and they come up with the LinkedIn, and they come up with the YouTube and the podcast and the author page and the Amazon listing and everything else, all of a sudden I'm credible to them. And we know how it is. You have somebody who's claiming to be an expert, and you go Google them, and there's like, one reference on their site that looks crappy. You don't take them seriously. And the book is a component of that, because the book is something I can plop down on their desk that all of a sudden gives me credibility. And then before they spend big money with anybody, they're going to go Google you. And then it can be all over the place, right? There's authors and speakers I like, and I'll always go Google them. And there's the author website, there's the Google page, there's the Amazon page, there's the Facebook page, there's the LinkedIn reference, and there's 30 other places where they've done interviews on podcasts or their podcast and videos. And that's how you build credibility in any niche right now. Is you're everywhere, and almost everybody says good things about you. And so you've got to have both of those things, I believe, anymore online. You're everywhere, and mostly good things are being said about you.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest problem right now is the average business owner doesn't know how to stand out and above the white noise that we're seeing. Everybody's marketing the same thing they're marketing. There's so many different people, marketing that within that same industry, within their same area, a lot of times locally, within their community, if you want to narrow it down. But the problem is how do you stand above that white noise? And really, you have to stand out, and you have to do, and Stephen, you're doing a great job in the financial world. I watch you all the time, and I can see you standing out. I mean, you've taken leaps and bounds at companies that have been around for 10 years in that industry, and you've already surpassed some of them on the internet. So that's outstanding. So kudos to you there. But I think, one of the biggest concerns and the biggest challenges for a business owner is going back to that term, that overwhelming, what do I do with all this knowledge? What do I do? I'm listening in right now, and okay, there's a lot of takeaways here, but what exactly where should I start? Well, let's talk about, basically, a lot of times you have to see, where are you on the internet? Where are you on page 1, results? And you may be saying, we hear people saying, well, I'm successful. My Facebook page pulls up number 1. If your Facebook page is pulling up number 1, you got a serious problem.
Yeah,
okay.
Right.
You got a serious problem. It's not something to be proud about. Okay. So that's a serious concern. Your website needs to be up there. Okay. And you need to really work on your website and your performance and scoring and ranking and all that stuff. Right. And we have a checklist, by the way, that I have actually pulled up, and we'll send it out to everybody on here. And it's free. It gives you score your own website, your own self. It takes you through step by step, and you make your own decisions. Do I want to do this myself, or do I want to hire somebody to do it? And then,
and Tracy, one thing, can I interject one little thing there? A lot of people we talk to say, well, I'm number one. I'm number one in Google. And there's two problems with that statement. Number one is they may not be searching for the keywords that people are actually searching for their business. So example,
number one when I search my name.
Well, yeah, exactly. A lot of times Yeah, a lot of times when they search your name, they get bad stuff, but that's another story. But like maybe they're searching their martial arts school, like we talked about before, and they search for karate. Well, they might be number one karate, but in their area, people are searching martial arts, or they're really, really low in activities for kids, or they're really low in other stuff. That's one problem. The other problem is Google knows who you are. So if you're continually searching for karate or continually searching for related terms, Google's going to return you play around with your school's website a lot. Google's going to return your school higher than other searches. So your search might be different from my search or somebody else's search in your area. So unless you use the developer tools that we use, you're never really going to know where your ranking is. So it's a complete illusion. If you just go on Google and search for yourself, if you see that you're ranked high, you may not be high at all. So you can be deluding yourself and thinking. I think that's an important point, that you're ranked. You may not be. And so we need to check that. And that's one thing, if people go to revmarketing.com and ask for information or set up a time to meet with us, we can do that all for you, so we can tell you where you're at.
Yeah. And to expand on what you were saying, Greg, is all the way back 20 years ago, we always talked about, focusing on long tail keywords, not just like the primary. And it's part of the issue of blogging and all the content is all of a sudden and maybe a different analogy is having been in the business for 40 years now, dating myself a little bit. It was easy. With martial arts for years, it was under judo. Then it was under karate, and then it was under martial arts, right? So that was the keyword. You open this big yellow book, you look for the keyword martial arts or judo or karate, you find it, right? And now the keywords are martial arts school, Clinton, Maryland, Taekwondo school, Maryland suburban, and you can keep building on that list depending on where it is. So people are going to throw in all kinds of geographic references. They're going to throw in, including like what neighborhood they're in. They're going to throw in whatever they come up with as far as how they're describing martial arts. Then, however, they're describing finding a teacher, school, instruction, classes, and whatever else they're, have a wild hair. And so you can probably come up with 300 derivations of what they might search for. Now, there might be 20 or 30 that are the primary where most of the traffic is, but people miss. You want to kind of be found on as many as possible, and you want to be found as high as possible. And again, that's something you're talking about, Greg, is a lot of people say, well, yeah, if you search this, I come up with, it's like, well, okay, but we can all go back into the search logs and go, well, yeah, but that's 5% of the searches. The other 95 are spread across all this other crap, and you're showing up nowhere in that. And it's one of the things that most people just don't recognize is the keywords are like whatever they come up with on top of their mind at the time, tied to their IP address, not what we used to do in the yellow pages is be in the karate listing and then try to buy the biggest ad, right?
Right.
Yeah, and I know you expanded off Greg's. I want to build on it a little bit because, when we get into personas, when we search a keyword, let's say I'm looking up right now, I want to do some type of fitness training or a personal fitness trainer. Google already knows what I'm eating, where I'm going. It knows what kind of restaurants I'm going to, and we do go to a lot of them. So it knows what kind of fitness level. So it's going to deliver to me what they are selling to their clientele, which are people like all of us that do the pay per click, right? Or the organic, what's on our website, search engine optimization. So the personas make a difference, as far as how you respond to things on the internet, but also where you travel. Google Maps, Waze, all of it's connected, and it's virtually impossible for the average business owner to sit here and figure this out. It's impossible because you can't just look at a website, look yourself up, and see a keyword, because a keyword is just one function, one element of what Google does to deliver what search queries for you. So just keep that in mind. It's very complicated. And I think as you're talking to Stephen, as you're talking about the Yellow Pages, I'm envisioning the cord phone. The little twisted cord phone. And some people may not understand what we're talking about. Anyways, but it was so easy back then, but it was hard for us because it's like, wait a minute, this year it's under judo. We're not a judo school. We're not a karate school. And now though they're delivering, understand this, they're delivering exactly what people want to them when they do a search.
Yeah.
And it's not just based off a keyword. So keep that in mind. Your website is not just full of keywords, it's fully optimized from images to everything you have on there that's delivering exactly what your clientele need. A website developer, and I'm not knocking website developers, a website developer will build a website based on keywords, cut and dry, period, that's it. A marketing platform will deliver much greater. Okay, they're going to go dive into personas and how people shop that are within your realm of the type of prospective clientele that typically buy or purchase in your area. And in Miami and New York are completely different.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's a technical job to figure that out. And in the old days, it was simpler, but it was harder because it's real easy for other people to compete with you. Now, the good news is that it's harder technically, which is why it's great when our clients come to us with Rev Marketing for that part of the work. It's great because then if we can figure it out technically better than the other guys, it kind of makes it easier to compete when you do it right. It's when people take the shortcut and they try to use like a Wix website and try to figure it out on their own. Well, you're a business owner. You're not doing this full-time technically. It's become a relatively sophisticated technical job. The three of us have spent a lot of time trying to figure it all out because we've had to, but for the average business owner, you just can't take the time to figure out all those things. It's not worth your time, honestly.
Yeah.
And to take the time to do that wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say it a little differently. In the old days, the problem with the Yellow Pages was I was dumping $100,000 a year into the damn thing, and some years people opened it, other years they didn't open it. Online, it's way more complicated, but you're only paying for results. You're not paying for them to print the book once a year, and so it's much better. But then the problem is that we all have our own business to run, and what you really need to do is you need to understand what the objective is, and then outsource anything that you can outsource appropriately, right? And so, let's take it as a different example with Facebook advertising. I spent a year and a half really delving deep, studying, training, all that stuff, so I knew what it was supposed to look like before I found somebody to farm it out to. And then I fired them in 90 days and found somebody else. And finally, we found somebody good, right? And same thing as my view with Rev Marketing is, yeah, I understand all this crap, but oh my God, your guys behind the scenes are going to stay up to date on a weekly basis where I can know what we're trying to accomplish on a, once a quarter look at it and really know what we're trying to accomplish basis. And so then I can be focused on what else am I doing to market? What else can I be doing to improve my sales? What can I be doing to train my staff? And I can delegate without abdicating. And that's the other problem, I think, is Greg, as you and I see all the time. They try to lob it over the wall and say, I'm paying that guy so much money to handle it. And they don't know what's supposed to be happening, right? So they don't know that if I get 100 visitors, I should be converting X percent. And of those that I convert that fill out a form, I should be able to make appointments with X percent. Of those who fill out the form, I should be able to make an appointment. They don't know the stats, so therefore they're just throwing money into a hole. And 9 times out of 10, if they're not getting somebody of your capability, they're flushing it out the back door and just don't know that they're doing it that way.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Even when we're talking to people, when we're starting the process to get them started with us, we want to educate them so they know what they're getting.
Yeah.
They need to know what they're getting so that they can, then they'll be really happy with the product and what they do.
Yeah.
And their marketing. They should delegate, not abdicate.
Yeah.
Well, and Stephen, I know you have like 15 more minutes. I think you let's make sure that if anybody's listening, especially the financial group, that this will be going out to as well. Is there a certain website you want to send them to, or anything you want to send them to?
Sure. For the martial artist, we put up a free site with a whole bunch of how to fix your school after COVID, after every level of your government tried to kill you. It's martialartsstimulus.com. For the financial advisors, there's advisorwealthmastery.com. Both of them have just a ton of free stuff. It's not trying to sell you anything, not trying to pitch you anything. And we only tend to work with, in any niche we're working on, the top 5% and, really kind of the top 1%. And we're happy to give all kinds of free material, and our vested interest is maybe it'll give them enough jumpstart to start getting up into the area where they could work with us. But it's advisorwealthmastery.com and then martialartsstimulus.com are both, a whole bunch of free material that's available.
Yeah, good. And we recommend everybody go into those two sites there if you're within one of those industries and check it out and get with schedule an appointment with them and see what they do. But definitely download their material. Which I want to tell you. I have to say this: everybody that's on here right now, and anybody that's listening in the future here, one thing I say about Stephen Oliver is he's always been ahead of the curve as far as everybody else. So when we talk white papers, which is one of the notes I'm going to talk about next, not just ebooks, but white papers that's what his whole system is based on, is downloadable packages, and they help you. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to invest anything, and they're free. You take them, you read them, you do what you can with it. Okay. And it's guaranteed there's some success that's going to occur with you if you follow the step-by-step stuff that he has written down there for you. So with that being said, gentlemen, I want to ask you, what do you think, what is the dilemma that we're seeing with business owners? They hire out to get something written, they get an article, they produce a blog, but they're failing to get that white paper, that downloadable ebook, which the ebook can be, it's hard to get something uploaded, but a downloadable PDF, as a white paper, that's like simple, guys. We need to get that on it. Everybody here needs to have a book. In the martial arts industry, I've written a couple books on it. I have our team, I don't want to say slap one of my books on their website, but we see sometimes as great as 75% conversion rate, increase in conversion rates. It might not sound like it's a large number. That's a pretty large number, but 75% increase in conversion rates just by having a downloadable book. If you fill out the form, you make the phone call, whatever that is. And if each of you guys could talk a little bit about that, because, we talk about call to actions, offers, secondary offers, all these different things. That once again is very overwhelming to the average business owner.
Yeah.
Well, I think in certain niches too. I just want to mention one thing first, because I think just a quick go that in certain businesses it's even more important, like the investment advising business. It's even more important to have some download. Talking about martial arts, then a lot of times that best offer might be some free time or lessons or a consultation in certain businesses. But in some businesses, if they don't have something like that, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, I guess what I was. And to use crass language here, you have to have a bribe for them to give you their contact information. And then you have to have a compelling offer for them to want to take whatever your next step is, right? And what I think gets missed a lot is people put up brochureware thinking that when people show up at their site, they're ready to buy and they're, just looking for how do I find their phone number. But that's not most of the traffic you're getting there if you're doing a good job marketing, right? Most of it is they land there because they clicked on an ad. They landed there because they found you in search. Maybe they're out researching your type of business. And I always want to have a bunch of different bribes that's going to get you into, to use this language, a funnel. And so I can have a bribe here, a bribe here, a bribe here, and it's a free report, it's a free book, it's a free video, it's a free webinar, it's something, right? And Tracy, going back to what we said a few minutes ago, is where do I start? Well, the easiest is let's do a video, then let's have somebody write that and make that a report. And then after I've done enough of those, each report's a chapter. Now I got a book, right? And it's just start with something. But always have that as a bribe so that you fill out this form, I give you this free thing. And then have enough of a sales conversation that you're building value behind the scenes, that they want to take whatever your next step is. Sometimes that next step is buy something now. Sometimes that next step is make an appointment. Sometimes that next step could be, I don't know, but it's whatever your next step is to facilitate. We do a lot of qualifying steps. Here's a free bribe. Tell us about you. Okay, you're a minnow, go over here. You're a whale, go over here. And then that's going to determine whether we text you, email you, call you, chase you, send you boxes, send you cookies, send you popcorn, or whether we put you over here and say, hey, there's this other thing you could buy if you want, and then push you down that path. So I think that's the starting point, is creating bribes. They can be very easy to create. That's designed to get them to give you some information so you can move them into seeing more credibility and more value with what you do.
Well, I think another mistake people make, though, that we've seen is the bribe that they're giving might be too severe. In other words, like in the advisor space, what we see a lot of is they have it on their website, set an appointment with me.
Yeah.
Well, like, first of all, why would I set an appointment with you? I just landed on your website. And that's like asking somebody to marry you without dating. There needs to be some sort of warm up or something in between. Now, they probably should still have a schedule an appointment link. That's one of the things, a free 20-minute session, a reason, because they're going to do a complete evaluation of their financial situation. Or if it was and in some industries, like in the medical industry, maybe they can't do some of that stuff for free. There might be some other thing that they schedule. But the idea would be is there might be something in between. So what are the things in between, the bribes, as you said, in between, that might make some sense and might be compelling? And then what we do at Rev Marketing is help you with making sure the conversion rates for each of those. You might be generating a lot of traffic, but are these things actually getting taken advantage of? And are they in the right place on the website? We might think they're in the right place. You might think they're in the perfect place, but maybe they aren't in the right place. Maybe the button needs to be different. Maybe
and that's all trackable stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's all good information, And I always like, when I explain this, to me, I like using Russell Brunson's ladder, the hook you were talking about, the bribe, how are you hooking them and what the ladder is? And we all know everybody slips off the ladder, right? Mm-hmm. So whether you're trying to get them to go here and they slip off the ladder, what Stephen was talking about, are you actually tracking that person down all the way until they fall? And what are you doing to help them get back up? And that's really what it's all about, helping them get back up. So Stephen's stuff, for the financial people listening in on this, or the martial arts, if you go into his websites and you look at his information, that's not just like fluff. It's quality content. Yeah. Read it. It's going to help improve you in your business.
Well, and it's stuff that we've sold for $4,000 or $5,000. People happily pay it.
Yeah, and you're just handing it out, and it helps you. But his is, he knows that if you read that, if you follow it, you're going to improve your business by tens of thousands of dollars a month, if not more. Correct me if I'm wrong, Steve. 100,000 for some of the companies you're working with. Yeah. And then the next thing you know, you're going up the ladder, and up the ladder means you're picking up the phone and somehow you're contacting Stephen's group, whether it's martial arts or the finance, and then you're kind of going from there. You're following their way up that ladder, and you may slip and fall off again somewhere else, right? But what do? He's tracking you down all the way. He's going to help hold your hand all the way back up to get to the top of that ladder.
Yeah, and by the way, we did a poll, and Greg, I'll throw in a couple points, and I got to jet out.
Yeah.
But we did a poll of our clients the other day because we were having this conversation, ahead of our meeting, and I had what was it, Greg? One of them had said, "I've been following you for 9 years before I ever contacted you." Another one said, "I've been following you for 4 years before I ever contacted." Another one, Carol here has known me since 1980, right, Carol?
Awesome.
Something like, it's like, it's a lifetime. And the scary part is, well, okay, so this guy's been on my list for 9 years before I made the sale, God damn it, right? But the exciting part is it tells you just because they don't buy on first glance, that doesn't mean they're not interested. And Greg, my last point here might be is a lot of the websites, to me, they might as well have a big button. If you want to talk to a salesman and be pitched on giving us your credit card today, press here. Yeah. Otherwise, go away. Yeah, and that, schedule an appointment today. That's the way the prospect reads it, right? Is talk to a salesman and get a high pressure sales, or go away. And what we want is learn a little bit more. Here's some free stuff. Here's more about us. Here's and that's even the wrong language. It should never be learn more about us. Learn more about how to fix your business. Learn how more to solve your problem. What's in it for them? But that's what has to be in that intermediate step. It can't be that they see. I mean, hell, I get 10 spam calls a day that I ignore already. I don't want to invite more. So you don't want it to be that they read it of, here, talk to a salesperson who's going to pitch you on our services before you even know whether you're have any interest or not.
Well, and frankly, what I was going to just add is the bribe, when you called it a bribes, they are legitimately valuable. What Tracy's saying is exactly right. The stuff that you're giving them and the stuff, if they go to revmarketing.com, the stuff that we're giving them there is legitimately valuable. I mean, sometimes people would want to work with us and Rev Marketing. Sometimes people want to work with us, Advisor World Mastery or Martial Arts World Mastery. Sometimes they don't. That's okay. We're not, but the stuff that you get, the free stuff, the website checklist that Tracy's talking about, all that stuff you can get. It is legitimately valuable stuff, and that's what I think people miss when they're building their website or even their sales process. They're missing that. Make it valuable, and it legitimately is valuable.
I'll give you one more example, and I've got to run. I used to have a guy at Stevenson Porsche Jaguar. His name was Hector, and he almost sold me 2 Porsches in one day. And what it was is I traded a 911 Carrera 4 for a 911 Turbo, and then they had to do some work on it before I drove it home. So he loaned me a Cayenne Turbo for the weekend, right? Now, brilliant, because now I fall in love with the loaner as well as I knew I was already in love with the other thing. And it's an example of, what, sales trainers would call a puppy dog close. Here, take the puppy home for the weekend. If you don't love the puppy, bring it back. We'll take it back. Well, nobody's ever bringing the puppy back, right? So you want things like that where they can get enamored of the service, get enamored of the opportunity, learn, have some benefit from it. We had one of our clients, Colby Winkler. He's in Mankato, Minnesota. But he said, well, I came to your free webinar and I did your free stuff and I improved my gross by 60,000 in 1 month without even ever talking to you. So I figured out if all the free stuff did that, maybe I should talk to you.
And that's why it's priced at $5,000 to $7,000 normally. So that's it, So I think really, I think sometimes people just are misguided, or maybe they're used to being, pinged all the time. I mean, every email everybody's getting is selling something, right?
Oh yeah.
But hey, we really appreciate you being on. I look forward to the next couple of calls we have you on as well.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'll remind them, Advisor Wealth Mastery and martialartsstimulus.com. Bunch of free stuff. And we'd be happy to talk to you. But guys, great content. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
All right, thanks a lot.
Take care. Have a good day.
Yeah.
So great. So just to continue on here, just a little bit more here. We just had a few more things we want to cover. Greg, I think one of the things we want to talk about, is when a lot of people used to use the term web. Now it's used more internet, right? And one of the things we want to talk about is creating a web, if you will, on the internet. So a lot of you here, I know some of you are clients right now, and anybody listening in here in the future, if you have a website, that website is just one piece of the puzzle. So you have that website and it's out there. You might be ranked number 1, but what other inbound links do you have coming in? So I'm gonna recommend a couple of things that I'd like you to check on. I want you to read about press releases. They're inexpensive to do. Rev Marketing offers them. You can do them on your own if you want to try it out, see if it yields results. When you write a press release, if you go through it, you have to go through a press release company, first of all. It's a third party, and they release it to all the different news stations. The maximum they typically do, most of them have like 400 is the max you can get delivered to. But when you write that press release, that sends links out to everywhere, all these different backlinks, channel 10, you're probably not going to get picked up with most businesses here. You're not going to get picked up unless you have a really good story. So I look at, Carol Middleton's on here. There's a story you have, whether it's a personal story, whether it's a story with a student, it's a loving, caring story, an emotional story, something that you've changed somebody's life. That is what should be going in the press release, not about, hey, my school does this, something that's, touching, that you've actually seen change. You might have seen somebody you know, and we look at today's fast-paced world, right? I mean, and everything you see in the news, there's so much negativity. And it's so interesting because when I look at somebody like Carol Middleton, it's a martial artist. I don't know you. I don't know you, but I know this. You've changed hundreds, if not thousands of people's lives. Well, if you take one or two of your students that you changed over the years, somebody maybe you stopped from going to prison, somebody that's come back to you, you know, you've been around in the business, I heard, since the 80s. So there's somebody that's come back to you. Maybe their kids or grandkids are now training with you, and you're like, you know, I personally have witnessed that, you know, and you like it's life changing to you as well. Well, get that story and get it out in a press release, because that's very positive. Very, and it's a story that's real. It's touching. It's heartfelt. People want to read that, you know, not just hey, this is a karate school and so, you know, I'm in New York, I'm in Miami, you know, every karate school's there. Tell a story that has some value to it. And I just want to touch that out. So anybody else, let's say you're a chiropractor. I recently was talking to a chiropractor, and they worked with pregnant women. And a lot of chiropractors, I guess, do not work with, you know, pregnancies. It's a very touchy thing there, and they really help a lot of women, you know. And it's like when you watch and I interviewed a couple of them, and I'm so amazed because listening to some of their clients, they're in tears talking to how this chiropractor changed their life. That's a story that has meaning. It's not just somebody trying to sell you something. So, you know, we can talk about niches, we can talk about standing above the white noise, but mainly, you know, I look at somebody like Carol Miller, I'm looking right at you. I'm thinking to myself, you have some really cool stories. I don't know what they are, but I guarantee you have a bunch of them. They might be a dozen of them, but that is your story you should tell. And that could be your blog, that could be your press release. So please, everybody on here, look up a press release, look up a press release. If you have any questions here, you can reach out to any one of us, and anybody you're currently, whether it's Greg Moody, Stephen Allen, or myself, you know, just reach out to somebody. Rev Marketing definitely offers a service for that. But the main thing is when you do a press release, there's a certain way you have to write it, and they kind of help guide you through it a little bit. It can be a little bit detailed, but when you write content on your blogs is the second thing. The content on your blogs can't be about 2 weeks for $29, or I have, you know, one session of chiropractic care, or you know, I have a free consultation, you know, whatever that is. What's a story about you and a client? Tell a story about a client, how you changed their life. And it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, think about it, Greg, you and I know, we deal with HVAC plumbers, we deal with people. I mean, you know, you think of people and people say, oh, it's just an HVAC guy. I mean, come on, an HVAC guy. Imagine living up north in the snow, not having any heat. The HVAC guy is a savior. You know, he's saving you. The plumbing leak.
Or in Arizona in the summer.
Yeah, Arizona in the summer. I could not imagine being in your dry 150-degree temperature without an air conditioning. You know, people die, right? I mean, so what's the story you're telling? And tell that story. And that goes back to like Frank Kern and Russell Brunson, you know, Dan Kennedy, you know, all those different ones, right? Everybody's all under the same. They all do the same thing. They're telling an emotional story, but they're real stories. They're stories that help guide people to get closer to your company and get you up that ladder, if they will.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we think those things are really hard to do, and that's what at Rev Marketing we help a lot of people with, is getting the seed information of that story and then turning it into something like a press release or a blog or a book or
white paper.
White paper is really easy to do. I mean, that stuff's easy to do. And I know when we say it's easy to do, some of you might be thinking, oh yeah, that's what they think. You know, they're really good writers, or they're really good this, or they're really good. And not really. I mean, I've got many books I've written, and Tracy and I've written some books, and Tracy's written a lot of books. He's written more than me. But you know, I used to be an engineer, so that doesn't mean I can write creatively.
I think you write pretty well.
At all. Well, yeah. I do now, but I mean, it's taken some time to do that. But I think for a lot of our clients, they'll write some pieces, and then we can take that and have it ghostwritten. And it's yours. I mean, it's your heart in that. It's not somebody else's work. It's really still your work. So that's pretty exciting that we can do some of that. And then that content can be repurposed in lots of other ways. But yeah, everything you're saying is right, Tracy. And that's where everybody should get started with. And if you feel like you've got some writer's block with that, we've helped people. I mean, we're going to have an upcoming writer's workshop and author workshop that's coming up as well. So there's a lot of ways we can help you with that does make it easier. And sometimes I think to get done to do the stuff that Tracy's talking about, you just need a little bit of guidance and help. And to do just a little that, if you feel like doing that on your own, we're absolutely happy to help you with that. We don't, it doesn't cost anything. We're really not trying to make any money from just helping you through the beginning part of the process. Of course, we'd love to help. We do, everything from A to Z, so we can help you with your book and everything else as well. But, feel free to reach out
Yeah. And Greg, and those are all valuable points you're talking about, because I think with the main thing, whenever we have to end here pretty soon here, but I want everybody to understand something right now. They're anticipating, okay, if you've read Forbes, Harvard Business Review, they're all saying the same thing. It's $200 billion industry for influencers in 2022, 200 billion. And that's just amazing. You have to become an influencer right now and get on board. Write a white paper, an ebook, become an author, and the reason being is because right now, this is the early stages. Yes, it's been around. This is nothing new, if you will. Ebooks have been around for how long? It's nothing new, but at the same time, it's a shift in the personas and how people are shopping. They're tired of the reviews. I mean, everybody on here right now, you may go and do reviews for certain things, but sometimes it's just you're tired of the reviews because it's just like, you can't trust the negativity because what you see sometimes in the reviews are just people upset because they didn't get things their way. And that's just a cultural thing. That's how we are right now, right? It's a lot of chaos and diverse people being, just honestly, they're just being silly. So the positive reviews, so reviews have become an issue. So what helps that stand out? I mean, I'm going to use, if I don't care who you use as a speaker, if you use news stations, whatever it is, every one of those guys on the news right now, they all have what? They have books they've written. Okay. They're trying to become an influencer. And they may never become an influencer, but at the same time, if they write a book, they automatically now in today's society become an influencer. So get with the, look into that seriously. And please look into the blog, look into, researching your website. We'll send you out a blueprint. We'll send everybody out here a blueprint and a little map to help you, a roadmap, if you will, kind of figure out exactly where your website stands. And we build websites for people. Okay. You guys know that. We build websites, hundreds and hundreds of websites, thousands of websites. I have no idea what the number is, to be honest with you. But I know this, that a website, we have clients that have a website that was built 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. A website that's more than 4 years old is not going to survive in today's society. So we don't charge. We just kind of like renew people and upgrade the site. And Greg, you throw anything in there you want. But I think the problem we're seeing right now is we have people that they used to be position 1, but now they're position 10 or on the second page because their website's it's considered static or stale, stagnant, whatever term Google wants to use. And that's a serious problem right now, what we're seeing.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of people get one mistake that they make is, and we would rather have it be that we build a website and not have to do anything to it for a long time. I mean, that'd be easier for us, but usually our cycle time's about every 2 years. Carol, you're on the call, so you're going to be up before too long here. About every 2 years, we do what we call a revamp of your website. One we're going to be doing for one of our clients I just talked to today. So just about every 2 years, we need to rebuild the thing because Google's algorithms change and what Google's looking for has changed and what's online changes. It's
code changes. Yeah,
exactly. And we, again,
stuff,
and as Tracy said, we're not charging more for that. We just continue to do our job for you to update that. And it's a hassle for us more than anything else. But what we need to do is do that because otherwise Google's going to lower your ranking. And we see so many people who did something 10 years ago and they've still got it, or they're working with companies. Unfortunately, Tracy, I hate to say this because I'm not trying to really bash anybody else, but they're working with companies where they built basically a template, and then they're selling that template over and over again. People that work in certain niches and that we work a lot with, and they just build these templates and they build a certain site design and
cookie cutters.
Yeah, and it's the same website they've had for like 5 or 6 years. So you're buying a website, even if you're buying a brand new website from a company, that's based on the template that's 5 or 6 years old. And every 6 months, our development team's updating our website, the platform, and then when we build something, it's built from scratch, really. So you're really getting that. That's what has to happen for you to get good results online. It just has to happen that way. So that's the way we build it. So it's a lot different. It takes us a month to 30 to 45 days to build something for you. Whereas really everybody else, you can always tell a few key things if you're not getting a good product if it's able to get built for you quickly. That doesn't mean they're doing a good job. That means they have a really easy development time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope everybody on here enjoyed the call. Greg, we're gonna, we do this once a month, and we're excited to Power Up Wednesday, and we like to invite everybody back again. Next month, Power Up Wednesday is going to be specifically on influencer and how to become an influencer, exactly step by step. And we have basically a 10-step system that we're going to go through. Greg and I actually are launching a book. It's called The Business of Becoming an Author. And Greg, do you have a sample copy with you?
I do. I have it right here.
Yeah. This book, if you guys are interested, we'll mail this out to anybody that wants it. It won't cost you a dime. We'll mail it out to you. But this is one of the steps that you guys can look at. And it really,
my two versions of it. So this is the
sample version. We haven't yet launched the book yet, as you can see there. It's got the little banner there that says
don't tell
for resale.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this book breaks everything down, and Greg runs these awesome workshops. I mean, honestly, that they're spectacular workshops. And it's interesting because in 4 hours, we have had people go on to there. In 4 hours, they had all their title, their chapters, a description of their chapters, everything broken down. And when they're done with the 4-hour seminar or workshop, if you will, their book is actually ready to be either written by themselves or ghostwritten. And by the way, if you ever have a book ghostwritten, some people are like, well, we don't want, I want to write the book myself. Well, people say that for 10 years, kind of like Oliver saying, like the guy, Stephen was saying that somebody was like, oh, I've been thinking about doing this for 9 years. Keep in mind, if you're thinking about writing a book, just get the book written, become an influencer. Okay, if you're in a business right now, I'd be willing to give you a full refund if you don't see, literally a full refund, anything if you were to go through with us, if you didn't see any difference in return on your investment, because there's just no possible way. One of our clients, some of our clients are a 300% increase in traffic volume just because they're so big on the internet. And we have people, I saw one martial arts guy come across, I saw his results. Travis Took was a good example. He's written a couple books, I think, already. And I'm just shocked at the value he has and how he's become so big on the internet. And, and Google picks you up and it places you. I mean, he's everywhere on the internet right now.
Well, and part of the way he's everywhere is he's doing his second book with us. And then which is going to be amazing. I'm so excited about his book. And then he's also got an author site. So it's that author site that made the big difference for him, I think, Tracy, when we built the web. We built the author site with him. So he's promoting his book, but also the author site gives him so much more content out on the internet. And he's really good at doing regular podcasting and regular content out on the internet. So for the people that are on the call, Carol, you've done a book with us as well, doing an author site, and I know we're meeting pretty soon. And for everybody that's not, that's either listening to the call later or not, go to revmarketing.com and set up a time with us so we can figure out where you're at and what the next step is. I think that's where everybody needs to go. We're covering a lot of topics.
Yeah, Greg, I don't want to interrupt you, but make sure you let everybody know too. If they don't see a return, if they just wrote the book and they've written a book, or maybe they've written a book with somebody else, if they've written a book and they haven't gone the next phase, there's so much you can do with your book. What are you doing? Are you saying to local community members? What are you doing with that book? And that's a big point that needs to be covered there, Greg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
when you schedule a time, you'll be able to easily spend a little session there, that a growth building session, if you want to call it, that'll be able to help you with your book too, as far as that goes. So don't think if you're listening, and if you're listening in, don't think if you're an author already, you say, hey, look, I already got an ebook published. It's not about having the ebook published, not about having a printed version published. It's about what you're doing with the book. And keep in mind, it's kind of like you're going to use Carol Milton again. She's a grandmaster at taking people from white belt to black belt. She's not interested in taking people from white belt to whatever the next level is. Okay. She's not interested in going one step. She wants to change lives and take people from A to Z, base to peak, get them to the top of the mountain, if you will. And this is the same thing, kind of what we want to do with becoming an author.
All right, guys. We appreciate
Okay.
everybody being here. And those of you who did call in live and the people that are listening on our recording later, we'll look forward to talking to you.
Hey, Greg, so everybody on here, so Carol Milton's an author. Let's promote her book a little bit. Carol Milton, would you like to talk? Can you take 2 minutes and just talk about your book a little bit?
This is her book. I have it on
Oh,
my
right
book.
there. Lessons of the Master. So if you guys can,
This is a
go
great
on.
book.
Yeah. Yeah, so everybody should really go and check out Lessons of the Masters by Carol Milton and just Google it. And Greg, can you show that book one more time if you don't mind? Let's
Sure.
show that book one more time and just take a quick snapshot of that, guys. Okay, and go look at that book and see what you guys can do. Read through it. You don't have to be a martial artist to read that book. Okay, it's got. I personally have read her book, and it's really well written, and it's kind of like the history of what she knows and what she's done over the years is fantastic. And it's life changing, and I'm all about life changing because that's just really what it's all about. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, change lives. That makes a difference, right? Okay, especially in today's world where all that chaos is. So hey, good talking, everybody, and we'll see you guys later. Take care.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
You take care too.
Bye, ma'am.